Hello on the planet and beyond. It's Shadia between here and there. And today I want to give some love to a biologist, a scientist, Tyrone Hayes, because I appreciate his work, how he developed it, and how he's standing in his truth and making sure that people have the truth when it comes to certain things that are happening in our environment. Okay. So he worked on a project where he discovered there were hermaphroditic characteristics occurring in frogs because of pesticides, okay, specifically the chemical atrazine. And so atrazine has been found in chemicals such as Roundup, okay? So the issue with pesticides, especially in the United States, is that the overuse of pesticides. Now, the reason why the pests even come in the first place is because they're doing their job. Okay, when a plant has certain deficiencies, it's going to give off certain energetic signals as well as smells. It's decaying, etc. So these insects come in, these pests, which are insects, they come in and they do their job. Because we also run our agriculture business in a highly monoculture type of structure, that's the reason why it's so easy for these pests to come in and reproduce and take over as they do, triggering the farmers to want to use these highly concentrated chemicals, which in turn affect the human. Okay, and not only the human being of the person that's spraying those chemicals, also the water systems in which these chemicals are found, because these chemicals do not biodegrade. Okay, so with the hermaphroditic characteristics, I think it's important to hone in on that, because yes, it's shown in the frog. However, we have a lot of animals that are considered model organisms, okay? And so a model organism is an organism that is like in place of a human, because you can't technically do human studies until it gets to a certain level of approval. In the meantime, in between time, scientists find it beneficial to study on animals. Okay, so that's why you see on certain products on the back it says no animal testing, for people that are against that type of practice. Okay, and so they're finding that in atrazine, in Roundup, that these chemicals are causing internal and external changes of that specific organism's sex. Okay, so a lot of them, as we know, start out as a female and is in turn changing into a male. However, it's not fully developed. And so that's where these hermaphroditic characteristics come in. I don't want to debate too much on the blueprint of humanity being female, because a lot of scientists and monies aren't being spent to basically point that out. However, we do have a bit of evidence when it comes to like mitochondrial Eve, showing that the bloodline and the blueprint of humanity is female. And I mention this because of those you're gonna have to bear with me on those stating that word, hermaphroditic characteristics. It makes sense because the energy is needed to split that XX into a XY, creating a male species. So if that energy, that chemical as well, because energy and chemical, there's heat energy, etc., that happens there, without getting too much into the chemical and the organic chemistry of it, as well as a bit of inorganic chemistry. When that energy occurs, that split happens, you go from female to male. However, and that's in vitro, inside before the development occurs on the physical. So it's not like a person that's fully formed into a female or fully formed into a male is going to have these hermaphroditic qualities. It happens in the womb. Okay, and so because if we think about the blueprint being a female, when that energy exchange happens and it doesn't happen fully, you have a range of hermaphroditic characteristics. Okay, and that's for animals. We are considered of the animal kingdom as well. That's where animals do not completely go all the way to one side of the spectrum, female or male. Okay, those hermaphroditic beings are in the center, and this gives us a cue and a clue excuse me, as to what's happening in our environment. And I think we should take that further when it comes to humans and actually looking at what's happening to them. What is going on with the hermaphroditic population? Is there been an increase? What has been the results of that? How far along on that hermaphroditic spectrum are people developing? Okay. So that's without getting too much into gender norms and gender identification. I think when it comes to hermaphrodites, that is something that we have to process when it comes to our society, that these beings do exist and these beings want to fit into the binary, and therefore at that very young age of a hermaphroditic being wanting to choose what side do they want to be in to fit into that binary, if that is on their plate, right? Okay, some people decide further along in life they kind of let their child be in the center, be kind of neutral, and that way they can develop into their own personality and who they actually want to develop their life to be. Okay, so Tyrone Hayes got a lot of flack for this because it was just like, oh, this is such a big industry, and for him to be talking about this, but he has the facts. That's why I really love science, because you can argue all you want, but when the facts come to light, it's futile. Resistance is futile at that point. Okay, so I need for people to realize that as humans we are sensors. Okay, so what we smell, what we taste, what we feel, what we hear, all of these different things that happen with us are cueing us into what's happening in our environment. And sometimes we get to a point where we're so conditioned that we believe that, oh, well, this just runs in the family. This is just what happens over here. This is how things are. However, if we dig further, we can see, oh, it's because there's been chemicals being pumped into the water system. There's been chemicals released into the atmosphere, which collects into the clouds, which are transported to different places throughout the planet, and therefore releasing those chemicals into these different populations' waterways, which in turn also affect them. Okay, so Tyrone Hayes, you should definitely look him up. I believe he also has a TED Talk where he talks about this shift that happened with atrazine and Roundup, and basically all the flack that he faced, how they tried to discredit him. And I think it's important that we listen to scientists and we do our own scholarly research and ensure that we are testing what is being presented to us and seeing who is the source of this information. What is their invested interest? Where's the money coming from? As well as, is this a viable source? Is this someone's opinion or someone actually doing research and compiling these things together to present to the population? Okay, so I think that's it for this video. I'm going to make some TikToks as well, probably download them and upload them to YouTube as well. Please like, share, and subscribe. My channel here on YouTube, I would like for it to flourish so I'm able to go live and answer questions on specific topics to be able to educate the population, because we all need to be a well-aware and educated populace to be able to make change. Because yes, one drop of water can ricochet and expand an entire pond. However, multiple drops into that pond would get the message across even quicker. Okay, so I appreciate you all. Check out the website. I do need to update the blog. I could say I've been slacking on that, because at every conversation I should just go back and complete the blog so you have information if you want to read into it. So I think that's going to be really important in the future, that any videos I post, that you have the scholarly articles that I've used and other scholarly articles and websites that you can use to do your own research as a well-informed citizen. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all. Make sure you stay prayed up to the Most High God, the Creator, the Omnipotent, the Almighty. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later.